Hey everybody, this is Brett Tadlock, TN Artist. Thanks for stopping by my channel. So today's lesson, and this is the sped up version, the full lesson is over on Patreon, but today's lesson is talking about how to use Artrage6 and stencils from my Mega Stencil pack that you can get over on Gumroad, and the brushes that you can get over there as well in the same pack. And how to use those combined with some of the tools in ArtRage to lay out a concept painting quickly. So in other words, if you're just trying to get a feel or trying to get an idea down for something that you want to maybe dive deeper in later, how can you do that? And so that's what I'm talking about here is ways to use the tools within here to start laying out something that is maybe like a sunset or a sunrise in the forest. And I was kind of thinking, hey, what about maybe a castle that's off in the distance? Is it something that is occupied? Is it just kind of remnant from another age or whatever? And that was kind of the concept I had in my head. And I wanted to play around with it, thinking, okay, what can I do with this later if I wanted to, or what can I do with it now if I wanted to take it even deeper? And I wanted to give it this kind of ethereal feeling of the way that sometimes the sunset looks or the sunrise looks, where it's that odd cast of a color, so that like white clouds are this really weird kind of bluish gray, and then other kind of this darker gray, and some are kind of golden and that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm doing here, is laying all that out and getting a good feel for it so that I can see if it's something I want to push further or not, and really kind of discussing ways to do that and how to quickly build up that stuff so that you can, again, get down your ideas quickly, get them down to have fun, and just really kind of have a nice time with it, and it really kind of let yourself play. One of the people on the channel commented the fact that, how do you do this stuff? Where do you do that? Blah, blah, blah. It just comes about from playing. And giving yourself that freedom. And that's one of the great things about painting digitally, is that you can do that. And so that's what I'm doing here, is laying out these different kind of colors to see how I like them, playing around with some of the different brushes and showing how to get quick effects like rain off in the distance and just kind of streaking by. Things to look for when you're doing that so that you don't get kind of a weird look, and using stuff like the airbrush and that kind of stuff. But then talking about how do you do the paint so that it's coming at one angle and not another one, or how do you, play around with the airbrush to get different, looks like sheets of rain going across and that kind of stuff. So all of these things are what I'm breaking down as I'm painting this and going through it. This is what you're watching right now is sped up quite a bit from the original. The original was right over 30 minutes of a lesson, a complete lesson from start to finish on this. And then from there, I sped it up to this so that we can talk about it. But yeah, just using some of the different brushes and some of the different stencils and stuff that you have in ArtRage from my packs that, Patreons get a discount on and everything as well. But some of these things you got to think about. Okay, like how am I going to have trees off in the distance? What colors do I use there? How do I pull it and put it together to get a harmony of colors as I'm going through it? And so that's, what we're kind of going over here. And so how do you give yourself permission to play? What do you do so that you can get down some ideas? Because for me, I've gone back and looked at my artwork over the past, 4 or 5 years, even, heck, within the past year. And I've noticed there's a drastic change in the quality of it. And part of that came from just allowing myself the opportunity to play, and the opportunity to really kind of experiment, and not so much worry about the final piece as much, but instead just, play around with it. And there's a ton of videos that I've recorded that I've never released because I record them as I'm painting. And there are some that just turn out like crap. And so I don't do anything with them. I just delete them. And sometimes I keep the painting so I can work on it later. Other times I'm like, nah, I got it out of my system. I tried it, didn't like it. I'll move on to something else and maybe come back to that concept later. And that's really an important thing to do, is just, You know, they say that practice, 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 but really it's practicing the right things, and the right things to practice are still taking into account, you know, composition, still taking into account eye flow, still taking into account values, and all that. So that way you're able to push and pull and get atmospheric, you know, perspective. Like just from what you see right here with these trees, you can see that there are definite layers of trees that are hitting, you know, some of the light coming through it. And then from there, being able to play around and say, okay, how do I draw a castle real quick? Well, I can just make some rough shapes, not really worry about it, go with kind of a nice impressionistic look, and then throw in some color and let it play around with the same colors, selecting from what's on the canvas to start giving me, you know, kind of the rough idea of what I want, and playing around with that. But again, it's just playing and just experimenting and just doing it. But you can see right there how you've got the feel of trees going off in the distance, something standing up over the trees, clouds receding, all that kind of stuff. And it's just from experimenting and playing and doing all that. And that's, like I said, that's what I do constantly, is paint, and paint some more. And, you know, some of them I keep, some of them I don't. I don't worry about it. And then once I'm done with it, I sign it and move on to the next one. Or if I'm done with it for now, then I may not sign it, and then just instead come back to it later to make even a more detailed piece. Because I thought about, for this, as I was sitting there doing it, I thought, you know, down in the bottom, what if it'd be interesting to add a road and maybe put a knight or somebody kind of wandering in to take a look at something, you know, and get that kind of an interesting feel from it that way. It could be something, you know, when I say do concept pieces, for me, I'm not trying to get into the gaming industry. I'm not trying to get into any of that kind of stuff. I'm just painting a concept for something that I like, a concept for something that I want to try. And so I may finish it out more. I may not. I may get it to a spot where I like it. Some of this I really liked. Some of it I was like, I would change that. But I don't worry about it for it, you know. So it's just kind of a thing to do with it. Anyway, I hope you've gotten something out of this. I know this is just a really quick overview, a really quick lesson, kind of over the shoulder, and discussion on these things. If you have questions, as always, put them down in the box below, the comments. You know, ask whatever. I'll do my best to answer them as quick as I can. If you want to see more stuff like this with ArtRage, Rebelle, Procreate, just a nice little relaxed group that's $3 a month over on Patreon, where you get discounts on stuff like my stencils and all that kind of stuff too. You actually get access to high-res photos of high-res images of my work, so that way if you want to make a print of it for yourself, you can do that. So there's a lot of different perks that you can get, but it's just a real laid-back group that I try to help as much as I can and answer as much questions as I can, more in depth than I do here on YouTube. But I still try to answer some of them on YouTube as well. So anyway, I'll let you go. If you're not subscribed, I hope you will. And I hope you'll leave a comment below and give me your thoughts and feedbacks, questions, and so forth on how to use the stencils and get a good layout for, you know, throwing together a quick sketch or concept for something. As always, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being a subscriber and giving me feedback on what you're seeing. And until the next one, have a great rest of the day. Peace.